Halo, a revolutionary first-person shooter that changed the genre itself forever. Halo's development truly changed the lives of all gamers around the world with its release. It brought fun multiplayer, a great single-player story, and it popularized a console that would be a titan for years to come. Halo's origins is a little bit different than what we know of today. Originally, it was presented on stage at Macworld Expo in New York in 1999 by none other than Steve Jobs. This, however, was a different package than what it is today. It was a third-person shooter, had a little bit of the elements that were present when it launched, and had no main protagonist. Jobs commissioned Bungie Studios to make the game for its Mac computers, to start a new wave of gaming on Mac computers. However, this didn't work out, and a year later, Bungie would be bought by Microsoft Studios. Then in 2001, at Microsoft's announcement of the Xbox, Halo would be unveiled to audiences for the first time ever. It would feature some of the elements that were featured at the Mac Expo, but it would be a first-person shooter this time, rather than the third person. Along with these changes, it would have a proper protagonist and Master Chief. Years would go by, and as the system stopped selling in 2006, Halo had made $192.2 million on both PC and the Xbox. This would make it the second highest launch game for the 6th generation consoles. Halo would not only change the landscape of gaming by introducing a new console, it would also change the FPS genre immensely. The game had introduced many changes to the FPS genre that no other game had done before. One of these things were regenerating shields. Before the launch of Halo, most gamers relied on health packs to manage the player's health. The player would only have to find a physical item in the game to bring their health back up. This would be prevalent in both Doom and Wolfenstein. However, this changed with Halo, as players could find cover and wait long enough for their shields to recharge to get back in the fight. Although Halo utilized this mechanic, it did not completely get rid of health packs. The two assets would enhance gameplay and would be used in almost all future FPS titles such as Borderlands and Overwatch. The next way Halo revolutionized its genre was the console control scheme. Although GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64 had a solid control scheme, the control in which the game was played was not universally well. This would change for Halo with the launch of the Xbox. The controller was massive, but it was easier to use than the 64's. Because of this, many manufacturers would use their own versions of Xbox's controllers. And with this, the control scheme for the game was implemented to other FPS titles on other consoles. Another way the FPS genre was influenced by Halo was the use of melee combat. This wasn't invented by Halo, but it was certainly made popular by it. Before, melee combat was almost non-existent, because most of the gameplay was purely focused on gunplay. With Halo, it showed gamers that you could have fun playing an FPS game with melee weapons. This was shown with the gravity hammer and the iconic weapon, the energy sword. Many other games such as BioShock Infinite's Skyhook and Counter-Strike Global Offensive's Knife would be influenced by the popularity. Halo also revolutionized the genre with its use of multiplayer. Before Halo, many people who played games together only used one console and had to play in the same house. This would change with the implementation of LAN parties and online multiplayer. Before the Xbox had multiplayer, people would bring their own consoles over to the other people's houses and hosted previously referenced LAN parties. These parties started a trend that was used for years in both a social setting and a tournament setting. This would also carry on to other games such as Call of Duty and Unreal Tournament. However, these were slowly killed out by the other form of multiplayer that was popular with Halo, online multiplayer.
I thought a team game might be fun, and that some friends that I met online might want to play. You see, Xbox Live has this Optimatch feature, lets you easily find players all over the country who like the same games and levels. I got some boys here who'll make you wish you were never born. I've got Arctic Avenger.
Dark Master is in trouble.
Buffalo Soldier.
Oh, Dark Master Man.
.com.
I'm a Dark Master.
And Sleeping Giant.
What?
Wake up!
Is it my turn?
All right. Let's kick some tail.
With the introduction of online multiplayer, it revolutionized the Xbox as well as the FPS genre. No longer were the days that people had to get together and play with their friends. Now the player had the ability to play with anyone from around the world in their own homes. This also allowed players to create relationships with other people that weren't from their own town. Also, with the advent of online multiplayer, it allowed players to learn new tricks as well as strategies to play the game. One example of this was the grenade jump, that allowed players to reach areas of the maps that weren't accessible through normal jumping. Online multiplayer would also play a major role in future FPS titles such as Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, and most importantly, Call of Duty. This one aspect alone would catapult the genre into one of the most popular. This would be evident when Call of Duty became the 4th highest selling game franchise, as well as the best selling FPS franchise. The final way that Halo influenced the FPS genre is the narrative. Before, games in this genre had little to no story. Example of this would be Doom and Wolfenstein. In both the games, the player was just tasked with either killing one main villain with no other narrative. With Halo, the story writers wanted to tell a compelling story first and foremost, and created a game around the idea. And behind this idea, Bungie created a critically acclaimed game that would spark other games to follow suit with this formula. Franchises such as BioShock, Deus Ex, and Metro would find success in the story-driven FPS game.
Halo 1 was a pretty good game. Not just gameplay-wise. I mean, it was fun. Halo 1 was fun. I think we spent years, frankly, at this point, saying, how do we ratchet the bar across the board up for Halo 2?
In a lot of ways, Halo 2 is just an extension of all the excitement we felt at the end of Halo 1 and that we didn't get to express.
Just in every way, we've really increased the scale and the scope of the game.
It's exploring huge environments, 10 times the size of Halo 1.
It's about kicking ass in as many ways as possible, in as many different bodies as possible.
Halo 2 is about guns and more guns. That's what it's about.
There's a lot of the story that we didn't get to tell.
Boo. Kill the demon.
There are characters that we had conceived of and even in some cases modeled. And it's also the same group of people too, and they all still want to do what they're doing.
We want our game to look like a movie. We want it to look like something that is just unbelievable to experience.
In conclusion, if it weren't for Bungie and Microsoft, the FPS genre would have a gaping hole in its different selections. Halo has influenced the first-person shooter genre, and without its advances in game mechanics, control schemes, multiplayer, and storytelling, the genre would look completely different than what it is today. In actuality, gaming itself would look different as well. Without the success of Halo, Microsoft may have never developed a successor to the original Xbox. Luckily for gamers, Halo was developed and has been enjoyed by the masses, and will be for years to come.